Hi, I'm Chris Justice from the Digital Learning and Instructional Technology Department here in Clark County School District, and I'm going to be walking you through Canva Essentials for Support Professionals. Let's get started here. So we're going to log into Canva via Clever. So we'll go to ccsd.clever.com, log in with your Google credentials, and then find Canva for Education here. Let's go ahead and open up that into a new tab. Let's do a quick 3-click tour. This is the home area right here. The home area has all of your recent designs, along with an area here where you can search for those different designs, and quick links here to get us started on things like new docs, social media posts, presentations, all this good stuff here. So take a look here on the left-hand side. This is our menu here, the sidebar. I can organize all of these different designs into projects here. So this allows me to create different folders and then house and organize those different materials into those folders. I can even share those different folders with collaborators, people at my school site. And then finally, I'd like to just point out, there's a lot more to it, of course, but remember, we're just doing a quick 3-click tour here. These templates are really awesome ways to get started, very efficient ways to get started on really great designs quickly. And so if you click on and explore any of these different templates here, like this poster, you can see that there's a lot of these ready to go designs that all you have to do is open one and then start to make them your own by replacing the text. Let's go back to the home though, and that's where we'll start. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to click and create a new flyer. So in the upper left-hand corner, we'll click on Create, and then I'd like to type in the word flyer into this search bar up here. Let's choose Flyer Portrait US. This is something that we can print on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper if we have a copier at our school site, a color copier. This is something that we can feed through it and get some nice copies. Canva also allows you to make professional versions, professional prints of these designs too, for an additional charge. Let's go ahead and open up Flyer. All right. We're staring at a blank screen here. Before we get into the templates, remember how easy and efficient that is. I think it'd be important for us to actually go through some of these design features and design elements that they have available to us. We learn some of the basics before we start to get into those templates. So let's create our blank sheet here that we're looking at. Let's get rid of this extra area here just to maximize our real estate. Let's click on Elements on the left-hand side. So notice that we've got now this new sidebar here. We'll be focusing on text, elements, and uploads in a little bit. First things first, let's click on Elements, and look at all the different ways or items that we can add to our design here. We can add some graphics, we can add videos if this isn't something that's going to be printed. We can access photos, high quality photos that are already taken, and along with some other aspects here. We'll get into frames in a little bit. What I'd like to do actually is work from the back forward. So the very first thing that we're going to do then is worry about the background. Let's click on Graphics. And if you notice here that there are these different graphics that we can add, I feel like we'll eventually add the school graphic or something like that. Let's go ahead though, let's first worry about our background. Let's click on Gradient. I want to see all the different options for gradients. All right, pretty cool, right? I like this one specifically, the one that uses, looks like 3 different colors. So I'll click on that, and I've just added that to my design. If I don't like that, I can undo and or select it and delete it manually. But I think that looks actually pretty good to me. All right, so let's go ahead and start to customize these different colors. What am I doing right now? I'm going to make a save the date event flyer. This is going to be for a back to school night that happens on August 18th. This is what my focus of my design is. If you want to do something different, like a staff appreciation shout out flyer or office info flyer, that would be fine to your choice. But I'm going to create a kind of a save the date event flyer. So let's go ahead and notice that we can change the size of these different elements here. If I pull in by the elements on the corners of this, it's going to not allow me to like transform it any way I want to. I actually want to be able to just stretch it out. So I'm going to use these elements in the center along those different sides to pull up to make it fit. That's a better way to make this different element fit in my background and fill up that page. I can also customize the colors too. I want the colors to correspond to my school colors, which are red and blue. So let's change some of these colors here. Let's turn this purple color into a nice red. In fact, I feel like this orange color, I'm going to change it into a different shade of red, be this color. And then this yellow I'll change into blue. There you go. Pretty cool. Yeah, that looks actually pretty nice. Okay, so we worried about some of those graphics. Let's add another graphic element. So to get back to that list, let's click out of this color area. I'll need to backtrack a little bit. I'm in the gradient part of the graphics section. Let's find some of those other graphics that we can add. I'd like to search for it. I want it to be school. Let's just find a good old-fashioned school. You know what? Since this doesn't really look like the school that I work at, I'm going to use something else that maybe represents a school, like this cute little apple. Let's go ahead and resize, making it not too large here because I'd like to add some text in a little bit. All right, some of the secrets to design: keep it simple, right? Sometimes we have the tendency to want to overdo it a little bit, right? Edit your design. We don't need as much as we think we do, right? All we are wanting to do is communicate the very simple save, in this case, save the date that we're trying to do. So I don't need to have an apple plus a pencil, right? Because that becomes, actually, that kind of does look cute, so I'm going to leave it. Let's make this a little smaller. Yeah, maybe overlap it a little bit. Okay. I take it all back. I'd like to have two elements within there. One thing I want to be able to do is make sure that I don't keep moving that background. So let's lock that background in place. I'm happy with its position and its colors. So let me select the background, and then notice this little toolbar down here. This allows me to lock that position in. So now I can't move it around. If I start to select elements within my design, I won't accidentally also select that background, which is cool. Let's go ahead and group both of these elements together. So right now they're separate. This pencil is separate from this apple here. I want to be able to put them together because I'm happy with their position. So let's select both of them, and then we'll select group. Now we've got both of these separate elements in one cohesive group, and I can start to reposition them, make them larger, make them smaller, and they'll move together, which is kind of cool. All right, let's add a picture here. So I feel like I'm going to move this down a little bit here. Take a look at what we can do. Let's go back to our elements. Right now we're in graphics. I want to be able to pull up a photo. Now, one of the cool things about Canva is that there are all of these photos all ready to go, professionally shot, highly appropriate, that we can just use right away. If we wanted to, we can actually upload. So let's take a look at this upload area. If we wanted to, we can also upload our own photos. So let's say that we had some event, or we have a picture of our actual school that we wanted to incorporate within this flyer. We could click upload files and then upload them and add them to our design individually. But to save a little bit of time, what I'd like to do actually is be able to just use one of these professionally shot photos that are already included within Canva. There's tens of thousands of photos all ready to go. Let's type in the word school. All right. Yeah, this one might look appropriate. So let's take a look at what I can do. I can just click on it and add it, and it's going to add it in that aspect ratio that the picture already is in, right? I could make it smaller, make it larger, fix it, whatever I wanted to do. But I actually want to do something a little different. So let's go back to the elements. And remember I mentioned frames. Let's click on frames first. What a frame is a placeholder for some element that we're going to add later. Choose a basic frame here. I actually like this hexagon right here. Boom. So what I can do actually now is add that photo to this frame, and that photo will take on the shape of the frame. Now, I don't know if I want this frame to be in front of that apple and that pencil element, so I can actually reorder these two. So let's select on that frame, and we'll click on this little 3 dots and worry about its position within all of the different layers that we have on our design so far. I just want to send this backwards, and that's going to push it behind that pencil and that apple. Pretty cool. So now that we've got our position of our photo, what will become a photo, let's actually now add the photo. Let's go back to our elements. There's that picture right there that I want to add. Watch what I have to do. I'm just going to pull this and mouse over that frame, and boom, that photo drops down into that hexagon, and I've got something that looks pretty good. If I don't like the position of it, I can move it. So just by double clicking on it, I can kind of reposition where I want that photo to show up, and we're good to go. If I'm happy with its position, maybe I'm going to put it right about there or so. Let's go ahead and select my pencil and my apple along with that framed photo, and let's click group. So now we've put all 3 of those together, and now they'll all move cohesively, wonderfully. All right, let's make this right smack dab in the center. Maybe a little off, there we go. Okay, I'm into it. All right, we've done it. So we've worried about the background, we've added some graphics, we've grouped those graphics, we've added a frame and then a photo to that frame. I've also mentioned how we can upload photos as well. Let's worry about our text. This is the fun part. So in the sidebar here, where templates, elements, notice text is one of the options. So let's go ahead and add that. What's cool is that there are some really wonderfully designed groups of text that we can add. If I wanted back to school night, right, I can choose any one of these already kind of designed ones. I actually want to do this manually though, because we can make something that looks just as great as one of these professionally produced groupings of fonts by ourselves. So let's actually go back. There we go. And we're just going to add a text box. If you want to, you can just type in the letter T, and that will add your text box to your frame too. All right, let's put this up here. We'll worry about the font and all that good stuff in a moment. All right, let's type in back to school. There we go. Let's go ahead and find a font that works. You know, we can spend hours picking the best font. The secret is here, does it work for the design, and is it easy to read? Sometimes we want to have a tendency to put in really interesting fonts that are the coolest ones we've ever seen, but can you read it from afar, right? A nice big bold font is really all you need. I like this Nor'wester. Let's put that one in. Notice the size is not very good here too, so we can start to increase the font size. Do more with that design in a moment. We don't want it to fill the space. If I printed up this 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, the printer is actually going to cut off some of the sides of it. So I don't want to fill the frame here, right? Because filling the frame might cut off some of those letters, or might make the cutoff to the letters unappealing to the eye. Notice we can also change the font size by just scrolling in here, holding on to this little, any of the corners here and moving in or out. Just like the background, we can change the font color of this here too. So let's go ahead and choose our nice dark color. Pretty good, right? It's looking pretty nice so far. Let's click on effects. There's some cool effects. If I wanted to add a glow to this, or a shadow, or make a hollow kind of outline, that actually looks kind of cool. Or a glitch, or a splice. We can add these different effects. Let's do this. I wanted to actually show you something else that we can do. I wanted to add a shape. So notice underneath some of these other effects, we can also add like a little curve to our text as well. I feel like that curve right now is a little too curvy, so I'm going to bring the curve down. Ooh, that looks pretty good actually. Let's choose a different effect. I don't know if I like that. I can change the outline color, so maybe that could be the secret. That's what I love about this, is that we kind of play around with this, make it our own. I'm now using the two school colors, red and blue. That looks pretty nice. Change the thickness of that outline. All right, that looks pretty good. Maybe look a little bit bigger. You play around with your design until you're happy with it. Boom. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Not too busy. I feel like we need to add some additional text, some information at the bottom of our flyer. And for me, the save the date flyer is probably got to have a date on there, along with a time. And that's what we're going to do now. So remember, we can just add a text box with the letter T real fast. Notice after I've added that second text box here, notice it's also in the font that's associated with the first one that I just made. In fact, the color is even the same. So that actually looks pretty good just as is. I do want to say, you usually don't want to use more than 2 different font types on one flyer. Sometimes, again, we want to add everything in. All of this is so new, and there's 3 or 4 fonts that we really love. All you need is 1 to 2, all right? A big bold one like the back to school where all caps works. I feel like the second font that I'm going to use needs to incorporate, maybe it's also going to be bold, but it needs to incorporate lowercase elements too. All right, I like that, looks pretty good. Okay, type in the details of the event, ensure that it's large enough to see from afar but not too big where it overtakes the design. Of course, I might want to add additional details like the school address and other things like that, but even phone numbers or something. But this looks pretty good to me, so we're done. All right, pretty wild stuff. So take a look. If we want, I mentioned before that we can add templates. We can also use the templates to make our life a little easier here. I wanted to start off by actually designing this the way that we did first, so that we can learn some of the controls before we start to get into the easier, more efficient ways to design, which is to use those templates. Let's click Add Page, and we're just going to look at some of those templates, explore them a little bit. So at the bottom of our design, it says Add Page. Let's go ahead and do that now. That'll give us a brand new, fresh, blank canvas. This time what we're going to do is click on Templates. And these different templates here are pretty wild. Actually, let's see if there's a back to school. Let's see if there's a version of it. Oh yeah, it looks pretty good. There's one ready to go, and this one has lots more design elements that look pretty good. So I can go in now and I can change my date if I wanted to. Ooh, I like that. Add in the website. I'm just going to delete it though, right? Oops. Might need to start to lock some of those positions. I don't remember how we did that before, so that we can start to select and move. Looks pretty good, actually, just like that. And that took about 2 seconds, didn't it? I might need to put in the address of the school site, but very easy to do. You also might be tasked to create different newsletters in addition to some flyers for your school. There's some really great templates for newsletters. Take a look at those as well. All right, so let's do this. I'm just looking at our notes here. All right. Let's take a look. I wanted to point this out that there's a chance that you might need to collaborate and work with someone else, maybe your administrative team, on one of these designs. And you can add collaborators really easily. When I click on Share in the upper right-hand corner, I can add people, typing in their email address. We'll put them in, make sure it's the nv.ccsd.net email address, put that in there, and now they have either viewing rights or editing rights, depending on how you want to control that, those rights. Pretty wild. And then they'll be notified once you add them on there. But I wanted to point out here too, like we might want to start to download some of these different designs. So this is also the area, clicking on Share, is also the area where we can download. Now, since we have 2 pages, we only maybe want page 1. So let's select down here where it says we can select the pages. I don't want to grab both of them. I just want one of them. So let's just select the one page that we want, in this case, page 1. If we're going to print this out, it would be a good idea to select PDF print as your option. If this is something that's going to be shared on social media, a JPEG or a PNG would just be fine. If this is going to be emailed out to staff, a standard PDF is going to decrease the final file size, and it's a little bit more emailable. But a nice PDF print here is going to have enough resolution to really make those designs pop. We'll select that one. All right, looks good, and we'll click download, and all of a sudden now we've got a great flyer that we can print on our color printer or get printed through Canva professionally. I hope you guys got something out of this. Design, have fun, and enjoy Canva. It's a really great, awesome tool.